Hello guys, this is the first Reading Buddy video. I'm going to be talking about part 1 of The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth. Now part 1 encompasses chapters 1 through 4, so it's kind of a short section, but I felt like there was a lot that happened during this. So I'm just going to give you my thoughts, the impressions I got, and I'm going to go chapter by chapter. And I apologize, I did not memorize all this, so I may have to look at my notes a little bit. So let's start with chapter 1. It opens with the sentence, "I was shoplifting with my friend when my parents died." So this kind of starts us out really intense, and we're like, wow, big impression at first. But then she kind of goes through her life, her town, and the day. She breaks down the whole day. That's what chapter 1 is all about. And so I kind of forgot how the chapter started once I got into it, because her description of the town is just so nostalgic. It's like this typical small town, and just the way she described the shops, the main street, it felt really comfortable. And I really was like, oh man, I could see living in this town. And it completely changed the tone of the book from sentence 1 to the rest of the chapter. So then we get introduced to her best friend, Irene. And we also get to know her grandma in this chapter. Irene just seems like it's an interesting relationship that she describes with her. She talks about how they're either like so super close or they're fighting like enemies. And there's kind of an example in there. But then there is possibly the sweetest, best first kiss I have ever heard about. It felt so innocent, if that makes sense. Like, no sweaty palms, just sweet. And the way she described it, with like they had been sharing a bottle of root beer and she could taste the root beer on her lips, and it was so sweet. I super enjoyed the description of that first kiss between Irene and Cameron, and I honestly wish that I had had a first kiss like that. I kind of want to kiss like that now. Like, it was so sweet. And so just the descriptions throughout the whole chapter, and in fact this whole section, I really enjoyed. But then we are reminded, we've gone through this whole day. They had their first kiss. Prior to that, they had been shoplifting, which is, kind of, we were like, oh, she's shoplifting. Okay, so we remember that chapter 1 started with that. Well, chapter 1 comes full circle and ends with her being told about her parents' death and the dying in the car accident. So chapter 2, we're introduced to Aunt Ruth. And we kind of go through the full spectrum of feelings with Cameron about her parents' death. We've got, shame. She's fearful at first because she's over at Irene's house when she is told about her parents' death. And it seems like, she doesn't know what has happened yet. She just knows that her grandma wants her home, and so Irene's dad takes her and drives her to her grandma's house, and she's just like, why is this happening? She thinks she got caught. She thinks that they know what happened with her and Irene just earlier in the day, which is ridiculous. They were completely alone. There's no way anyone would know, but the fact that her instant thought was that she's going to get in trouble, it kind of gives you an idea of what the viewpoint of gay or lesbian interaction is in this little town and in her family dynamic. So anyway, she instantly, when she's told, she's in shock. She's like, okay, my parents are dead. But then she also did have that feeling of, okay, nobody knows. That was the very first thought she had, was nobody knows about me and Irene. Great. But then she deals with her parents dying with, just absolute grief, guilt, a lot of guilt. And the way that the book is narrated, you can really feel what she's going through. I mean, it's really easy to tell her feelings, and you can put yourself in that position. And anyway, so all those sweet memories from the day, in the next few days, in the weeks following her finding out about her parents' death, everything that happened with Irene is no longer sweet. It's that all of those memories that were built so carefully in the first chapter are tainted now, and it's hurtful. I'm frustrated. And her friend Irene gives her a card, and it's sweet, and it's just like, I don't really know what to say. I'm really, really sorry. I want to be there for you. And Cameron throws it away, and she's like washing herself of it. But she's careful to mention that she has the card memorized, so she doesn't need it. So it's like she's trying to cleanse herself of this shame, this guilt, this situation, but then at the same time, she's still treasuring it in her heart. But at least maybe no one will know. So something that also struck me about chapter 2 was that she specifically went to the movie store to rent a movie about someone who lost their mom. And she did this because she's not really sure how to act. Because in this small town feel, or small town situation, there's so many people that she sees constantly. Everyone knows about her parents. She has what she calls the prorated orphan discount, meaning people are giving her things and and just feeling sorry for her, and she's constantly reminded of what happened. But because she has so many people asking her, so much attention on her, doesn't seem like she knows how to act. So she's renting the movie, hoping that she can figure out how to react in those situations, how to show her feelings. And I relate to this so much, because when people are looking at you for your reaction, it's hard. Like, I have that same problem. I have a hard time giving an honest reaction. I'm feeling like I need to, I don't know, pretend like my true feelings don't come out in those kind of situations. So anyway, through that, she's conflicted, obviously. What I thought was interesting was that she has this view of either there is no God or there is a vengeful God. Like, he exists, but he's punishing her for her behavior, for shoplifting and kissing Irene. So I thought that was an interesting contrast. And then finally, chapter 2 is just really about her escaping into movies. And she just watches movie after movie after movie from the little rental store in town. Okay, chapter 3. She's counseling at school daily. We meet her mom's friend Margot from Germany. And I could be reading this completely wrong, but I feel like Margot might be a lesbian or bi or have something, some kind of background in that. And she's Cameron's mom's friend, and she lives in Germany now. But just the impression I get from her is that she's very progressive, and that of anyone, she would be completely understanding of Cameron's situation and would be able to help her out. But Cameron just can't seem to tell her about it. So also in chapter 3, we find out that Irene is going to boarding school. She is leaving the state and going to boarding school. And it's an all-girls school, and she's obviously very excited, but we've seen throughout this chapter, because it moves through really fast, like we're getting to the end of the school year here. So the book started in summer. So you can see it's kind of pushing through these first few chapters. So Irene has been changing. she's not the same person. She's kind of acting different, and Cameron's scared of that. They're not as close by far, but she still wants to reach out to her. So Irene and her have a really nice, like, real conversation finally. And Irene invites her to go to boarding school. She's like, Cameron, come on, I can get you an application. So she gets her an application, and I don't know where this is going to go, but she's like, obviously it's too late for this next year, but, you know, later you can go. I think she's finishing out her fall semester, so at the new year she'll be going to the boarding school, I believe. And then she's trying to get Cameron to go for the next fall. So I'm excited. I feel like that's the right thing to do. Get out of her small town. I mean, she's clearly not enjoying herself there. She's miserable. She's escaping into movies. A change of scenery would be good. But something that really struck me, and I had to write this down, Irene was talking about leaving Montana, about her going to boarding school. She said, you're not a bad person if you want to try something new. And it's like so clearly double meanings there. So, you know, leaving and trying a boarding school and leaving the state is trying something new, but so is kissing a girl in this scenario. So I thought that was really interesting, but I'm nervous because I feel like Cameron's going to read it that way, and because she reads it that way, she is not going to want to do it because she's so conflicted right now. She's not sure of herself. So anyway, chapter 4, we get to learn a little bit more about Ruth, and she's interesting. The whole her having tumors on her body that she has to get removed, on her nerves that she has to get removed periodically, is very interesting to me. The fact that she's riddled with this disease inside, this cancer, but you would never know looking at her. I just feel like that's a good symbolism because it seems like she's all about appearances, and it talks about that for the Christmas. She caves to Cameron's wishes to do exactly everything that Cameron has done in previous Christmases with her parents, but she does them to perfection, and it's like it's too good, and it just feels hollow and fake. And so I really feel for Cameron there, because it's like there's something to be said about imperfection and flaws. When it's too picturesque, it doesn't feel real. And so that's the Christmas experience. And then chapter 4, we also learn about Cameron's first experience looking up gay in the Bible. And she's like, well, it talks specifically about men and men together, not a woman and a woman. So she's like trying to figure out if maybe she can get away with it and still be following the Bible. So anyway, then we also find out that she's shoplifting dollhouse decorations. And not just shoplifting, but stealing things from like different places and people. She's just hanging on to these little knickknacks, and then she's displaying them in her dollhouse that she fought so hard to keep when Ruth tried to throw it away. So anyway, very interesting start to the book. I am definitely ready to continue, and I am very excited to see where this is going. And the whole last chapter is about Ruth coming in and changing things, and one of the things is the church. So that's kind of the big thing. I think that's going to be in chapter 5, because as soon as she changes churches and goes to the one Ruth wants her to, then I think we're going to get closer to the point where she's going to get shipped off to the Pray the Gay Away place. So very curious about that, and so far I'm really liking it. The descriptions, the narrative is very good. The symbolism is very rich. So bye guys, I will see you in part 2.